Hi guys, it's Sue. I'm back today with a little bit of Tuesday inspiration. As promised, every Tuesday I'm going to try and upload a video with a little bit of inspiration, more so to help myself get inspired and motivated again, but also hopefully that you can get a few pointers and maybe craft along with me. So today what I thought we would do is make some of these easy embossed and inked tags. Just a little bit of texture. There's not a lot to them, but they were fun to do, and certainly I could have kept going and made more. So these are just a few sample ones that I've made. So I think they came up really well, and all I've done is already I've just used pre-bought tags, which you can buy in, or they call them gangs, like this. We get them from our news agencies or our office works here in Australia. So they come in gangs of 4. So I'm using them just for quick and easy, but you can also use any of your cardstock, cut your own tags. They can be any size, it doesn't matter. These tags that I'm using today, the smaller ones, which are these here, they measure 4 3/4 in height and 2.5 in width. And the bigger ones, which I'll show you in a minute, are 5 1/4 inches high and almost 2 3/4 in width. So as I said though, you can use any size you like. So all right, so we may as well get started. I've got a few bits and pieces over the side here that I'm hoping to use. So what I've done, put my glasses on so I can see. As you can see, hopefully you can see the texture here, a little bit better, from the embossing. And you can see it on the back there. So I've used a doily embossing folder there, and on this one I have used like a frame embossing folder. So, and here's a few that I had already done as well prior to the video. So what I do is I just do them about 1/2 to 3/4 onto the tag. I'm guilty of very rarely using my embossing folders, and I have so many, no joke. I have probably 50 or 60 different ones. So I'm endeavouring to use them a little bit more. So this is what I've come up with. I have done these in a few journals before, so, and I really enjoyed them. So I thought, why not? I may as well make some more. So, I mean, they're beautiful as they are, even like that. If you inked around the edges and put a bit of ribbon in, they're stunning as they are. So, but let's get into it, and we'll make a few of these. So what I might do is, I mean, I think most of you probably would know how to emboss, but for those of you that don't, and you can emboss just through a stencil with a stylus as well. You don't need like a big shot machine or anything like that, but I certainly think that it's definitely an investment, a very good investment, if you can invest in a big shot machine, a scissors machine, something similar to that. And just as you buy a die and an embossing folder here and there. You don't have to go out and spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Just, you know, that's how over 30 years I have grown my stash of dies and embossing folders, and I very rarely get rid of many, because I always when I buy my folders and my dies now, I always look at them first and think, well, how many times am I going to be able to use this? Can I use it in multiple projects that I'm using? At the beginning I bought dies just because I loved them, and then I may have used them once and then that's it. So those particular dies I have since passed on to friends or sold. But now that's how I buy my dies or my embossing folders. I look at them and think, okay, how can I use this in multiple projects? Okay, so I have the Big Shot, and I love it. I used to have the Cuttlebug, and I used it so much that the poor thing died on me. So I invested in this Sizzix Big Shot, and I love it. Haven't looked back. I have the electronic cutting machines as well, but this one always seems to come out. I always manage to just drag it out, and I don't know, it's just so much easier than connecting it to your computer and, you know, doing all that sort of stuff. So, okay. So what you do is you just grab your tag. It's as easy as this. And I mean, years ago I used to think, okay, so if I'm going to use this, I have to use the whole image, and it has to be on a piece of cardstock that's this size. Okay, so I can't use it for that. Well, it's not. I mean, they're so versatile. You can use them on so many different projects. So all I'm doing is I'm just leaving about 1/4 of an inch out the side of the embossing folder, and I'm just going to lay it between my 2 plates. With the Big Shot too, it's got these boards that tell you, you know, what plates, etc., to use for, you know, whatever you're doing, die cutting or thin framelits or thinlits, whatever they're called, and embossing folders, that sort of thing. So, and then you just roll it through like so. And you have a beautifully embossed tag. So that's how easy it is. So if you don't have one of these, it's certainly worth the investment, I think. I've had this for many, many years, and it hasn't skipped a beat. I mean, obviously these plates get very worn and need to be replaced at some stage, but they do last a long, long time as well. Hope that doesn't fall down. I've popped that on top of my bin. So yes, I just want to show you that. So that is actually a Kaisercraft embossing folder, and it is Baroque frame, however you say that, sorry. So that's that one. I've used this one as well, the ornate frame. Actually, I don't know where that one is. I've got the packet, but I don't know where the actual embossing folder is. It will turn up. And I've got that large doily, this one here, which comes out like that. And just a few other. So this is a Tim Holtz Alterations one, so you can use it that way or that way. This little one's got postcard on it. I didn't end up using that. And then this one I think is just from one of the cheap shops. So you can pick them up at cheap shops as well for very reasonable price, and they work just as well. So that's those. I'll just pop them out of the way. So yeah, well, we may as well just get in and make some, I suppose. So what I first of all I did was I just went around the edge with distressing. I'm just using the Vintage Photo Distress Oxide. You can use any colour or type of ink you like. It's totally up to you. So what have I got? I've got the doily and the Baroque frame there. I might do maybe these two. So what I did was I tried to emboss two using the same embossing folder, but just opposites. So you just flip your embossing folder up the other way and emboss your tag that way, just so that they can go in a journal or a project that you're using, and they match basically. So you don't have to do that. You can do all different ones if you want to. I might do different ones today, and I can always pair them up down the track if I want to. So yeah, so all I did was just inked around the edges. And as I said, you don't have to do this. If you like that crisp, clean look, you can just leave it like that as well, which always looks really nice as well. I don't know, I think I'm addicted to ink. now, and I just tend to like inking everything up. So I've just got my little, I don't know, makeup brush or whatever you call it, and I'm just going to lightly go over the embossed area just so that it sticks up a bit. I've got a little bit heavy-handed there, but that's okay. It all, in the scheme of things, it all works out. So I'm just doing a light dust over the whole tag just to give it a little bit of colour. I just find with these, I end up with a huge amount of ink on the tag, so this just gives it a nice light bit of colour. And see how the embossing pops out there with that ink on there now. Okay. As I said, you don't need much for these. You can do anything you like. These butterflies here that I've used, they're from the Graphics Fairy. I've joined the premium membership, so I've printed, they're a digital that I've printed off. These are scraps of scrapbooking paper that I have actually punched out using one of my punches. It's a Stampin' Up punch, I think. No, EK Success. Stampin' Up, yes, it is Stampin' Up. And it's just this butterfly. So that's all I've used with that. So I just found a few little bits of scraps with the script on them in my scrap drawer, so I just punched those out. So you can use anything. I've got this gorgeous scrapbooking paper too that you could fussy cut any of those butterflies out if you wanted to add a little bit of colour. It's very light paperweight, so you could back that onto cardstock if you wanted to. Some of these I've left like floating wings, but with them being a little bit lighter, lighter in weight, you could just stick them straight down, it doesn't matter. I probably won't use these today. I'm sort of going for that more monochrome look. I've got a couple of French inspired journals that I'm wanting to get done, so I just thought that these might actually go nicely, and they're all those creams and linen colours, so I'm thinking that I might use some of these in that. But I'll just also show you, these are some of the beautiful butterfly printables that I got off the graphicsfairy.com. The premium membership it's nominal. You pay a certain amount every month. I think it's, and I'm probably wrong, I think it's $14 Australian dollars that I pay every month, but you get access to so many printables that you can use over and over again. So these I loved, but they were really big, so I thought if I'm using them for tags, I actually shrunk them down to 50%, so that they fit a little bit better on those tags if I use them. Here's some more. These I decreased down to 80, printed them out at 80%. Some of these bigger ones I wouldn't use, but I liked these here. As you can see, I've cut some out of there already. I liked the smaller ones, so I wanted to make them a lot smaller. So that's the same, but just a different colorway. And that's at 80%. Whoop. So that's one of them as well. This one's at 80% as well. It's like a yeah, like architectural prints on script, and then you cut the butterfly shape out. I love those. I think they're beautiful. This is just another one, wings and things. There's a couple that I've cut out of there. Bohemian butterflies. They're all at 80% as well. And this one is at full size. So there's some beautiful ones there. One night I'll sit down and I'll fussy cut all those out and use them at some stage. So if you want to have a look at that premium membership, I will endeavour to remember to pop the link down below. It's certainly well worth the money. Okay, so what I've also done is I have just torn a sheet out of an old dictionary. This beautiful New Webster's Encyclopedia of Dictionaries, 30 reference sections, and it's all, look at all the age in it. Really don't even need to ink, and the paper's, I mean, it's quite fragile, but it's not, like, it doesn't fall apart when you touch it. So I've just torn a page out of that, and I'm just going to use that basically. So what I want to do as well is I'm using a russet archival ink, and just this is a Kaisercraft stamp. I've had it for years, so I don't even know the name of it or anything, I'm sorry. So all I wanted to do was just stamp a little bit of random script just here and there on the tag. And I'm going to put a little bit, I might even do some going the other way. So just curl your stamp, just so you don't get the impression all over the tag. So I'm just doing that randomly. So if you're doing this, what you could do is you could do a couple of tags at once. So we might even do that. So I always find if I'm doing something, even it doesn't have to be exactly the same thing, but if you're doing, you know, a heap of tags with a similar sort of theme, do a few at once. I just, as a production line, I just find that you get things done a little bit quicker. I'm just going to trim that off. So I hope you're all doing really well, and I hope these Tuesday inspiration videos give you a few ideas, and if you have lost your inspiration or your motivation, I'm hoping that it will actually just give you a few ideas to get back into doing some crafting. And whatever we make, you know, we'll use it down the track. We don't have to always be making something for a purpose, do we? We should be just making it because we enjoy doing it. I missed that whole corner there. So yeah, I'm just, as I said, I'm just lightly dusting over some colour. You could use, you know, like tags that you've already coffee dyed as well. I do actually have some there. I could have done some of them, but I didn't think of that. Anyway, that's all right. We'll do it this way now. And I just love that little dusting of ink over the embossing. It just really makes it pop. Okay, so we've done that. And I mean, you could use your Distress Oxide to stamp the script with as well, but I just wanted something, I didn't want to use black, but I wanted something just a little bit darker than the Distress Oxide, so that's why I've used this russet colour. So this is all just very random, not thinking too much about what I'm stamping where. Probably just do a little bit in that white space there. And once again, this is, you don't have to do this either. It's just something, I don't know, I just like that look. It just sort of gives it another dimension as well. Okay. So see, you've got the base of 3 tags done there, all in the space of under 10 minutes probably. So that's that done. Have I inked up the top there? Yes, I have. Okay, so now I guess what we'll do is we'll just work out what we're going to put where. So I'm basically going to do just the same as what I've done here, guys, because as I said, I've got a few French-inspired journals that are very monochrome in colour that I want to use these for. And this is just to give you a little bit of an idea. And you could make bulk of these and use them. I mean, they would go in any journal because of they are very monochrome. They'd go in any journal. So you could sit here and make a dozen of them if you wanted to. Pop them in a drawer, and you've got them then when you make your next journal. So I am just really roughly tearing, and I'm not keeping those scraps because I have got so many scraps, it's ridiculous. I'm just very roughly tearing some paper. So I'm going to just randomly pop. I'll use that for that one and that for that one. Look at that. So no thought to it. You don't necessarily see a lot of it. It's just to add another layer. You could use fabric, you could use patterned scrapbooking paper if you wanted to add a little bit more colour. You don't have to use book paper at all, but if you're anything like me, you will have so many books and book pages that you can be using. So I want to try and use as many of them up as I can. So I've just really roughly inked around those pieces of paper as well, because you do see some of the book pages. It just sort of lifts it off the background of the tag as well. And as you can see here, I'm just curling that paper, like, because I haven't stuck it down fully. You can just, for another little bit of texture. Now that I'm saying I'm doing it, I can't do it. So just add another little bit of texture to your tag. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, and this is just annoying me, sorry, this is just me, there's like a really creamy space there with not much colour, so I'm just going to do that. There you go, happy with that. So I'm just going to stick these down, guys. Once again, I am not going to think too much about where I'm popping it. I'm just going to stick it down and we're going to get this stuff done. I'm actually going to pop this one down here a little bit because the reason I'm doing that is I like this texture from that, the impression from that embossing folder there, and I just don't particularly want to cover that up. If I put that up there, that fully covers that. So don't worry about the writing as such. This says ugly and sickness, but we'll be covering that with the butterfly image, so you don't, I mean, obviously keep an eye on your words just in case there's something quite morbid or disgusting on there, but you know, most of it is going to be covered up anyway, so yeah, so I'm just going to stick this one up about just above halfway, and I've got so much glue on that, so I'm just going to rub that off. Pop that on there, and we'll do the third one as well. See, what I could have done is I could have actually torn a bit of, you could have done doily, or actually we might even do that on the next one, or some paper and put it down long ways. But anyway, I've done this now and I've got the glue happening on the back of it. I'll stick them down. I just want to make sure I'm in frame. Okay. So that is another layer to your tag. So we've inked the edges, stamped some, inked a light dusting of colour over the tag, stamped some script, and now we've added a little bit of book paper. Okay, so I'm going to pop some butterflies on there. Actually, when I was cleaning up, I had such a mess, I just couldn't cope anymore this morning. I just had to clean up so that I could actually think about what I was doing. So, and I found this as I was putting stuff away, so I thought I'll have a look in here and see what I've got. So I've actually got some that are already, have already been fussy cut. Let me see. I'm probably a little bit dark for what I'm thinking. I could still use them, they're not too bad. Why not? These are a little bit too big. I'm not sure what that's off. That's something that I started making and didn't finish. Is that the same? All right, well, let's use those. They're a little bit darker, but that's okay. So we might use those on those three. And I've just got some of my trusty cheesecloth that I like, and I've just coffee dyed or tea dyed this. And all I'm just going to do is just put a layer of cheesecloth underneath. Once again, you could use linen or torn homespun. a bit of bandage. It's just endless what you could use. So I'm just going to randomly pop that, get these out of the way, randomly pop that on top of the tag and just have a little bit of a look. So I'm going to stick that there, and we might put, I like these specimen tags too, we might put a specimen detail up there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop a tiny little bit of glue just to attach that cheesecloth to. Now this cheesecloth might be a little bit bigger than what I want to use, but we can actually cut that down or pull it apart as we get bits and pieces attached there and we decide we want it to be smaller. So I'm just inking around this very roughly. So what I'm also going to do is I'm going to cut this guy's antenna off, because I'll show you why and what I like to do with my butterflies. So I'm just going to cut his antenna off. And I'm going to glue. I'm not going to really, I mean, I don't cover it fully. If you want, obviously, the wings to be loose, don't glue the sides, just glue down the middle. So I'm just going to pop that on there. As you can see. And then I would normally wait until this is dry, and then you just pull the cheesecloth and get the extra strands off. And you give it a little bit of shape. And that's basically a tag. But I will add a specimen plate up there, and then I'll let that dry and I'll show you what I do. Actually, I probably won't do that because the glue will be too wet. But what I do with my butterflies, as you can see here, and if you've seen any of my videos, I've shown you before, I actually like to sew through the body. So as you can see here, sorry, the lighting's not real good. I've sewn through the body there, and I've left the antenna or threads at the end to look like antenna. This guy, I don't know whether you can see, so you can see them there. And it's just, it's another dimension to the tag. I just think it's looks pretty cute. And so, yeah, you can see on the back, you can sew the butterfly before you actually glue it down if you want to. I didn't really, I mean, these I might even be using as side tucks in the journal, so I wasn't particularly concerned about that. So that's what I normally do, but I won't be doing that today because the glue, I think, will still be too wet. So I don't want to glug up my sewing machine. But that gives you a little bit of an idea. So that's how quickly they all come together. So we may as well just finish these two off with a little bit of cheesecloth as well. As I said, I just cut random bits. That's probably a little bit too small, so I'll just pop that over there for another project. I'll just stick that down, put a little bit of glue down, stick that down first. And as you can tell, I'm really not thinking about it too much. I just find lately that if I overthink it too much, I just get nothing done. I'm still madly prepping for a pop-up shop that I've got on at the end of October. It's getting serious now, and I'm getting really stressed, wondering whether I will actually have enough stock to display, because it's a 7-day pop-up shop. So, but then again, if I sell nothing, I'll have heaps, won't I? hopefully I sell something. I basically, hopefully it's, I'm going into it thinking that it's a marketing adventure for my new website that I have started. I will put a link down below if you're interested in having a look. So just trying to get some of my local residents to know that I'm there and that they can get something a little bit different. And also, you know, I just would like to try and get more, more people heading over to my website. I will actually be closing down my Etsy store in probably the next month or so. I am just struggling. I sell, it's been a really good platform and I have sold a lot, but with all the fees and everything that goes with it, I find that I'm only just covering my cost. So as I've said in previous video, long time ago, I have done something like this for 30 years, just played with paper, and it's a real passion, has become a real passion, and I'd like to be able to try and make it so that it supplements my income and I don't have to work as often as I do. So that's my dream, and I'm working really hard towards it. So I guess, you know, you've got to put yourself out there. I'm not one of these people that tend to do that. I'm pretty timid when it comes to that sort of thing. I am getting better the older I get, but yeah, I just thought, no, I'm going to do this pop-up shop and just see where it goes. So you can only give it a go. I don't like to think that I have any regrets, but if you don't do these sort of things, you just never know. You know, you'll sit back and think, well, what if I had have tried that? You know, would it have worked? So at least if I give it a go and it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it does, that's great. So that's my thought process anyway. So I'm sure I will be fine. I've had my mum, who has been absolutely amazing, helping me package product and do all that sort of thing, you know, all the really time consuming things. So she has enjoyed doing that, and she's still going madly, but it's stuff I can be making things, hand making things while she's doing that. So yeah, I really appreciate her help in regards to that as well. So these would be a good idea for a market stall as well, to sell as gift tags, or if you're selling journals. Like I'm going to be selling quite a few nude journals. I call them nude, so they're not decorated. They've just got all coffee dyed paper and different papers and that in there. And then I will sell tags and that sort of thing, so that people can decorate if they want to, or they can just use the journal blank as it comes. So there you have some very easy, fairly monochromatic tags. I love that look. As I said, you can add your color, you know, I mean, even some of these would look beautiful, you know, add a little bit of color, add a bit of lace. I mean, you could add lace down the bottom of your tags. I mean, there's just so much, it's endless really. Once you get started, you could just go crazy. As I said, I'm got a few French inspired journals that I'm thinking of using. So these are actually the book plates that I've done up, inked up and everything to use on the covers of those. So I think, you know, like they will go throughout that journal really nicely. So that's where my head was at. So I just thought I'll share with you what I've done there. So this is cream seam binding, and what I've done with that is I've just lightly dyed it with a little bit of distress ink and some water, and I can quickly show you that. Once again, you may know how to already do this. I do know that I have quite a few new subbies. Hello everybody, and thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate all your support. So for those of you that haven't done it before, I've just got this, I don't even know where I got this from. It's like a glass tile. I knew I had it and I couldn't find it, and I was trying, because we've moved, I unpacked a box and found it, so I was very excited. So I don't have one of those amazing Tim Holtz glass mats, so I just use this if I have anything like messy that I want to do. So all I did was I cut, oops, so this is just the cream, so this is what it was. So there's not a lot of difference, but you can see it's just slightly stained. So how many tags have I got? 3. And I always cut too much. So 3 bits of seam binding. And all I've done is I've just really roughly, and I've just soaked up all that ink and water in there, and it doesn't matter if there's a little bit of cream still showing. And then all I do is I've got my window open here, I just stick it on my windowsill, and it's dry pretty much within 10 minutes. And then you have a clean mat then as well, because you've soaked it all up. And then that's what I'll pop in the top once it's dry. So on these I might add the specimen label. So what I've done is, this is just a piece of craft cardstock, and I've just cut a strip off it before to do these specimen labels. And these specimen number labels, I just did up a Word document with all of these on there, and printed them out onto coffee dye paper. So no rhyme nor reason to the numbering or anything when I did it, just whatever took my fancy at the time. So I'm just going to cut a couple. How many will I do? I'll do the 3, may as well. So and I just keep them all in there with my words and everything that I've printed off the computer as well, out of Word documents. They're always handy just to have at hand. Doesn't matter if these aren't particularly square. So I'm just cutting them down a bit. And I'm going to ink around these as well before I actually glue them to this craft cardstock. Okay. As I said, it doesn't have to be square. They're not overly square, but that's good. It all adds to the texture and the look, I think. So I'm just going to very roughly ink around the edges there. As you can see, it looks like I'm a smoker. I'm not. End up with very dirty fingers. So once again, you're just adding another layer, another dimension to your tag. And yeah, and I know I keep saying it, but these are very monochromatic. I do have, you know, a project in mind for these, so that's why I've gone with this. But by all means, add colour. I'm not afraid of colour, and I do use colour as well, but I'm just sticking with these for now because I'm using them in some future journals. So I'm just going to glue this to this piece of craft cardstock, and we'll trim it down. Because they're so little, I always add too much glue. Does anyone else have that problem? I don't know. I need to probably get a smaller bottle with a smaller spout or whatever you call that, just for little bits like this. Actually, I do have some Dimensional Magic that I used to use as glue. I'll have to dig that out wherever that is and use that if it still hasn't gone off. Hopefully it doesn't go off. Okay, so I'll just stick these down very quickly. Oh, they're all moving everywhere. I've got so much glue on them, they're just sliding off the cardstock. Okay, so we'll let those two sit for a bit and adhere. If I can get it off my fingers. And we'll use this one. So I'm just going to trim that down just so as, you know, it's not too random. It looks a little bit symmetrical. And once again, I'm going to ink around that mat of craft cardstock. And we're just going to stick it on the tag. So I'm just going to stick it over there. Once again, too much glue. And there you have your tag. So, and then you'd put some ribbon in there. So I I think they're quite cute, fairly quick to make. These particular colours would go in any project that you're working on. So not a bad little embellishment to, or piece of ephemera to actually have in your stash, just waiting to be used. I'm actually going to put this up here, but I'm going to pop it off the side of the tag and then I'll trim it down. Sorry if my head is in the way. So I'm just going to pop that one there. Might trim that down a bit, hey? So just eyeballing all this. When I first started doing junk journaling, I was so paranoid that things weren't straight and I had to measure them all, and once again, you just get nothing done if you're that, well, I find if I'm that particular about everything. So now I just eyeball a lot of things and I find that I get things done. For something different, let's just stick that one there. So there you go. There's our 3 tags that we've done. As I said, I will sew through these, the middle of these butterflies once the glue is dry. I'm just going to trim that one off from the edge. Now you can go and ink around the back side of these as well. As I said, I think I'm going to be using these as side tucks on a page in a journal. So I'm not particularly worried about the back side of those. So what I might actually do is I might just wait for this glue to dry. I'm going to go and stitch them once they are, and I will just come back to you briefly and show you them completely finished. So I'll be back very shortly. Bye-bye. Okay, I'm back. They're all dry. So I have sewn through the bodies and left the antenna. I've added the ribbon, the seam binding that I slightly dyed as well. So what I thought I would do is I'd just leave this one though and show you what I do when I sew these bodies. So it's not necessary to do this. I just do it just so that I know that it's not going to fall apart. But because I backstitch on the body several times, it's never going to come undone. But I also do find that the antenna sit a lot better if you just tie off a knot. So I leave quite a bit of thread when I'm sewing, just so that it's not too fiddly trying to tie it off. So I just tie it in a double knot, and then I just trim the thread so that you get the antenna sitting up there. If they go a little bit skew, I sometimes just put a little dob of glue just to sort of make them sit down, and then I also just tie off the back as well. It just saves it unraveling at any point. As I said, it's sewn backwards and forwards several times, so it shouldn't, but it's just another one of my idiosyncrasies that I like to do. So just tie a double knot and then just trim off the excess thread, and there you have your tag and the last bit of seam binding that's now dry, and just thread that through. So really, if you were just sitting there and doing half a dozen tags in a production line, that would take you half an hour, if that, probably. So just some nice little tags to have in your stash. As I said, add colour. I mean, I'll make these again and add colour. But for now, this is the colour scheme that I am wanting to go for. And I think they will go in any journal that you ever put together. So I don't know. What do you think, guys? I love them. I think they're beautiful. I love all that vintage monochromatic colouring as well. So that's our Tuesday inspiration for this week. So I hope you all got a little bit out of that, and it does give you a little bit of inspiration to go and make some tags. If you have any questions, just pop them in the comments below. Once again, thank you all for your support. Please give me a thumbs up if you like this video. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so as well. I'm hoping to have a lot more inspiration for you coming up. I will link my website, new website, down below, and I also will try and remember to link the graphics fairy there, so you can join up for that membership. So I am off, guys, to go and make some more of these tags while I'm on a roll. So have a great day, and I hope you get some crafting in. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.